Okay, hey third graders. So for today's assignment, we want you to be accessing Clever. We're gonna have you get back to taking those weekly tests like we did at school. So you'll have to go to clever.com and I'm gonna log in as one of my students so you can see what it should look like on your end. So this is the Clever homepage. And then you'll need to type in your credentials. You'll see that the username has no extra endings on it. There's no at K12, there's no at RCAS, that kind of thing. It's just your initials, your 4 numbers, and then make sure your password is in all caps, and you put that dash in between. So it's like your initials and then a dash, 5 numbers, and then RCAS at the end, and the password is in all capitals. So then I'm going to log in here as one of my students. And it'll load, and then it'll pull up this screen, and your icons might be in different spots. You might have different icons on here. You might have some extra things, like I know kids in my class will have my personal page on here, but kids in Mr. Karras's class or Mrs. Campbell's class will probably have things a little bit different. You need to go, yeah, or Mr. Woggy's class. You need to go to McGraw-Hill. That's our reading stuff right here. So click on McGraw-Hill, just like we do at school, to access the tests. And then it'll load. And if for some reason it's not logging you in, this is where you need to contact us, either me, Mrs. Callier, or Mr. Karras. We're the ones in charge of the reading. So we want you to come to us with any questions first. If we're not able to answer your question, then you can ask your classroom teacher if we're not them. But up here in the top, you should see your name. If it doesn't show your name, that's what I'm saying. You need to be contacting us to get you the right login or to help you there. So you can see I'm logged in as EJ in my class, and it's going to pull up our curriculum right here. So you want to launch it to get to our assignments. And then it's going to bring up this select a class. So what the third grade teachers did is we added every kid in third grade to all of our classes. So now it's going to say that you're in 4 classes. So instead of picking your classroom teacher, you're going to have to pick whoever assigns the tests. And I think to make it easy for all of you guys, we're going to have Mr. Karras assign all of our weekly tests. So on Fridays, if when you're going in to take your test, if you're normally in my class, Mrs. Callier's class, you're not going to pick this one because the test will not show up there. If you're in Mrs. Campbell's class, it's not going to show up there. If you're in Mr. Karras's class, it will show up. If you're in Mr. Woggy's class, it will not show up where it needs to be. So you need to always pick Mr. Karras to get your tests assigned on here. So you're going to say that you are in Mr. Karras's class to take this test. And then you won't see anything but these icons right here. So you have your to-do, words to know, writing, games, reading, that kind of thing. To-do is where you're always going to find your assignment or things that you need to complete. So I'm going to click do. And then if we assign you any games or books to read, that will show up right here. If we don't, you'll see that it's empty right there. And then my tests is where you're going to go for this assignment. Then it's going to load for a minute, and we're going to clear this out for you hopefully, because you'll see some past tests that are on there. But the test at the top is going to be your most recent test. So this is the one that we're going to need to take, Unit 5, Week 2, because it's the end of Week 2, and we want to see if you learned the skills that we were practicing. So I'm going to hit Take Now, and then it's going to load up. And this is where we sometimes run into a problem. If it doesn't start loading up right away, there's something that pops up. It usually will say pop-up is blocked, or you'll see a little icon up at the top that has like it's almost like a puzzle piece and it's like crossed out or something like that. It's just blocking pop-ups, and sometimes our school computers will do that, and so it won't load right away. So you'll have to click on that blocking sign or whatever pops up that says it's blocking pop-ups to allow it, so it will show the test like it is right now. And it says you're about to start the test. Make sure you have good internet, and don't use your browser's forward button. So it's saying don't use these arrows up here. It wants you to use the arrows that it'll show on the test. So then you click start, and it'll take you to your first question. This just tells me to read the passage and then answer the questions after. There's usually 2 passages and then some questions that go with it. And remember, just do your best. And we took out the writing questions, so you don't have to do any of those. You'll just have multiple choice. So then you can hopefully see this save and continue. So that's the next button that we're going to go to get to the rest of the questions. So you can see the passages here, and there's an arrow because you can't see the whole story. You'll have to scroll down to be able to read the entire story, and maybe you need some help with reading. So that would be a great time to have an older brother or sister or a cousin or grandma, grandpa, mom or dad, somebody at home if you need a little bit of help reading. But most 3rd graders should be able to read this story no problem. And then answer the questions. So some of the questions are part A and part B, so they go together. Your answers have to match. So just make sure that it makes sense when you're going through it. Take your time. It's not a race to see who gets done. We want to have you do your best. We're gonna look, we can see how long you spend on your test. So if you only take 2 minutes on your test, we know that you didn't put your best work in there. So then after you answer the questions, remember, keep hitting that save and continue on there. And then once you get to the very end, you'll submit your test, and then we will grade it. And you'll be able to see your score through Wonders, the program that we're on here. You won't be able to see it on Google Classroom. You'll only be able to see it on Wonders through Clever. So make sure you're accessing it through Clever. There will not be a link to get to the test. And if you have any questions, you can contact me or Mr. Karras first, and we'll try and pass along information to Mrs. Campbell and Mr. Woggy, but we're kind of the reading and writing experts, so feel free to contact us with any questions.